How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Senate Bill 10 in California, which has just now become a law after being signed by the governor, Jerry Brown. This bill is very important and very controversial because it eliminates cash bail from the California prison system. Some have been proponents of this because they say it eliminates the divide between the rich and poor as far as who's able to get out of jail because they have money, they have a lawyer before the trial, and who is not. Some are against this because of what they're going to replace the bail system with may not really be very effective. It may put communities in danger. And then, of course, you have the bail bonds industry, which is a really big industry, who are going to be totally eliminated by this. So they're against it as well. Let's start from the very beginning. Let's point to the obvious elephant in the room. What are they going to replace the bail system with? They can't just say, all right, there's no more cash bail, so if you get arrested, you can't get out before your trial. That's not what they're going to do. Well, they are going to do that, but not really. Let me explain. They're going to have a risk assessment system. So if you are considered to be a low risk offender, let's say you get locked up on, maybe child support, traffic stop, a misdemeanor violation, something that does not carry a felony sentence, a so-called nonviolent crime. If that's you, then you may be released within 12 hours of being detained. So there's no bail. You can just get out after about 12 hours, maybe less than that. If you are considered high risk, a suspect in a murder situation or something like that, you may just be remanded up until your trial date. But there's kind of a murky little area here that I don't really know about. And if you know about that, if Jerry Brown is listening, if he knows about that, let me know in the comments below or hit me on the phone or something. Let me know what's happening. What does it really mean to be a low risk offender? And what does it mean to be a high risk offender? Because we could talk about misdemeanor, small offenses, small drugs. Like if you have like a possession of less than a gram of weed or something like that. Well, it's legal in California, I guess, but you understand what I mean. Small drug offenses versus you have 100 kilos of fentanyl in your trunk of your truck or something like that. All right. That's something totally different versus, an assault on somebody where they got seriously injured or murder. Like what is considered a high risk offense? What makes a high risk offender? Let's say you get arrested on a small charge, but you have a violent criminal history. Okay. If you get arrested on a small charge, but you have a violent criminal history, does your violent criminal history play into whether you're going to get remanded before your trial? I'd like to know that. I really don't know. And then let's talk about the illegal immigrant situation. We're talking about California. You got to talk about the illegal immigrants. Now, if you're here illegally, you've been deported 20 times, but you get arrested on, a failure to pay a court fine or something like that. Are you considered to be high risk? And what does high risk really mean? What does it mean, high risk, low risk? Because that could be taken different ways. I will need to see the actual bill to see the lawyer language in there because it should express what risk means in a specific way, because you could take the word risk, like I said, in different ways. 2 ways off the top of my head right now. Risk could be considered a flight risk. All right. If you get arrested and you get released an hour after you get arrested, you may be a high risk of actually fleeing. If you're not a legal citizen, you're here illegally, no green card, no visa, no nothing. You just here. You've been deported many times. You may be a high risk of actually fleeing because you're not even really from here. You have a country to go back to, right? You can just go back to your house and have that be that in Mexico, Guatemala, or whatever. So the crime may not necessarily point to whether you're going to be high risk or low risk is what I'm saying. All right. So I don't really know how they're going to go about doing this. And the bail industry, they're upset because you got thousands of bail bonds companies that exist in California, tens of thousands, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's like 6,000 in LA County alone. I'm not quite sure if there's businesses or individuals, but I digress. You get my point. It's a big industry, so they're going to be hurt by this. You have an entire industry that's based around it. And then another thing about the whole bail system it provides a lot of money to the California prison system. So what are you going to do as far as being able to shore up that revenue? Are you going to increase taxes? I'm thinking that you're going to do that, because how else are you going to fund these prisons? You already have a lot of financial problems in parts of California. So what are you going to do to shore up that loss of revenue? I'm not saying that you should depend upon the bail revenue to fund prisons, but they're not going to just take the loss of money and not try to make up for it. So what's going to be the next step in bringing in revenue to the prison system without the bail? I don't really know, because let's be clear, if I've not expressed it clearly enough, there's going to be no cash at all, no monies, no credits, no Bitcoins, no money exchange at all. Either you're going to be remanded until your trial, or you're going to be released as few as less than 12 hours from your intake into, the prison or the jail, or you'll be released up to 36 hours. Let's say for higher crimes that may kind of be on the borderline of low risk and high risk, you can be home for 24 hours, and then you may get an additional 12 hours to determine whether they need to be there or not. So 36 hours max, you'll be released with no cash bail. I mean, what could possibly go wrong, right? Just maybe you'll find somebody that get arrested for a traffic violation for having illegal tent or something on their car. Meanwhile, they got 12, 13-year-olds tied up in the basement. But since you let them out within the first 12 hours, you're not even really taking time to see what's happening with them. You're not taking time to see if anything on the outside falls apart. Things like this have happened. I'm not really being too, dramatic in my talk, but I just want to know how it's going to work. This is the first state in the union that has ever done this, and it'll be interesting to see the results. I anticipate you're going to see a rise in crime, because a lot of these guys that are so-called low risk are the guys that constantly get locked up over and over again. So if they know they can do something, just like the dope boys, if the dope boys know that they can go out here, sell their drugs, sell their heroin, fentanyl, whatever, and they don't actually get locked up before the trial, they're going to get arrested, get released, go back to the block, do the same thing until they get caught again. And then the cycle goes on and on and on. And at a certain point, they probably combine some of the charges when they go to trial, and they probably give them a lower sentence anyway, because it is California. So all you're doing really is just increasing the amount of crime that's going to happen. And some would say, why does it matter? Is low level offenses? Well, if you're out there selling drugs in the street, there's an inherent element of violence that is associated with that. You're not just going to be out there like a salesman with a lemonade stand. You're in very dangerous and violent areas. So you're going to increase the level of crime in these areas, because the guys that should be locked up on the drug charge are not. They're going to get locked up for an hour or so, come right back to the street, and keep doing what they were doing before they got locked up. But that is just my 2 cents. What do you think? Do you think that this bill is a good thing? Senate Bill 10, it has now become the law. It's supposed to come into effect in October of 2019. We'll see what happens up until then. The bail industry has sworn that they're going to fight against this, because you're talking about the whole industry being eliminated within the course of a little more than a year, 1 year and 1 month to be exact. So they're not really happy with that. But do you think this is for the better? Is it for the worse? How are they going to treat illegal immigrants? Are they going to be treated as low risk, high risk? What does risk mean? Risk as far as violence, or risk as far as flight risk? Whatever your comments are, please let me know in the comments below. That's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.